so I'm back with Elisa.
It's the same day, if you couldn't tell.
Are you blowing our covers? Like, maybe we're
I'm
just wearing the exact
sorry.
same things a week later. Anyway, so we wanted to make this video because we were, like, reminiscing, or...
Reminiscing?
Does it count as reminiscing?
We were... No.
Contemplating? We were just talking about the things that people say to us as writers. It started because my mom's a hater about my hair. She liked it when it was red. Right now it's blue. And I then started thinking about, like, you know, I don't fit the writer stereotype.
Oh, yeah.
You forgot?
I did forget.
You're like, what is she talking about? She's making up this
I
story.
really was so confused. I was like, when were we talking about?
But artists, because writing is not an art,
Writing is 100% an art.
are the ones who, like, have crazy hair and, you know, wear band shirts and, you know, will go, you know, sleep in a car because they don't have money. And I'm like, that is also the writer's experience.
It's a writer's struggle.
Because writers also
we're
don't make
also
money.
poor.
Yeah, basically. And, you know, writers, though, we're the sad ones, we're recluses, which is true, but that's also true about other artists as well. Like, people out here cutting off their ears.
Also, I need to debunk the idea that all artists and writers are, like, depressed and need to be mentally ill to make good art. Like, that's not safe or healthy to believe in.
And then especially now in Corona, like right now in the publishing world, and like most people have been buying like happy-go-lucky books.
Yeah,
So,
like how is everybody depressed if you have happy-go-lucky books?
Romance is not a depressing genre. I mean, it can be, but in general, like the main formula is the happy ending, you know? And because people actually do believe in that and want to see that. And yes, like a lot of the famous writers have had mental disorders and all this stuff like that. But I also feel like it says a lot about their time period. Were you not making money? Like, you die poor, or, you know?
A lot of them did.
They did. But so I guess we can get into the video, like the main part now.
Are we gonna die poor? Anyway.
I hope not, you know? But so one of the first one is your character you, or are you your character? This was something that's often being not debunked per se, but like acknowledged in my writing workshops. They're like, if the author has written in prose and so it's in the first person and it's I, that does not mean you should say you, because it's not necessarily the author. And even if it is the author's experience, this is now a story. This is now a story going out into the world. One of my favorite creative writing professors was like, you know, once the story is out there, it's no longer yours, it's everyone else's story. And so, you know, they're always
the
like,
world story.
Yeah, so they're always like, you know, say the character, if the narrator has a name, say, you know, the protagonist, the narrator, or their name, but not you, because you don't know if this is this person's story. And most of the time it's not us, just because of your eye, or we might have like random pieces of ourselves, but we also have pieces of ourselves in the other characters as well, not just the main character.
As in the last video, they are all just pieces of our mind.
They're our brain.
Oh my god. I did not like that. All right, so that was the first question. I've had that one too. Not so much. So, is your character you? But they did. Oh, why are you this? Why you do this? I was like, it's not me. Stop. Have you never read a book in your life ever before? Like,
one time, there was a book and somebody's like, oh, it's about like a poet or whatever. Oh yeah, they are a poet. So it's probably like their life story, and it was something completely different.
so
And they're just like,
oops.
you know, they might have that experience because they're a writer, so they can write about being a poet. But
that doesn't mean
that's them.
Is their life.
Yeah, you know, they're not Spider-Man. Like, you know, if it's a fantasy story, like, and that doesn't mean you imagine yourself to be so.
The next question was, can I get free copies when you're published? Which, I don't know, that comes as... It has two ends, because it's like you have faith that my story is good enough to get published, but...
Which is cool.
But you don't want to pay for it!
These are often people who don't want to read it. Like, I feel like the people who I have as betas, no one has ever asked me, like, so I'm going to get a free copy, right? Like, if anything, they're like, oh, wait, acknowledgements? But no one has ever said that either. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I've never heard anybody... Actually, Ryan has asked to be in the acknowledgements. But, like, it's Ryan.
That's her brother, guys.
That's my brother, guys.
Just for the context. But yeah, you know, like, it's... Or I've had a friend who said that they want to be in someone's acknowledgments, you know? Like, they were just like, damn, like, that's kind of cool. Like, you're kind of immortalized in print that way. But again, no one has ever asked me, like, can I get a free Now, I have a friend who, as soon as I got into baking, they were like, oh, you should sell this. Oh my gosh, and then I should get a discount. And I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, everybody, immediately...
I need the money.
Seems to, go for the discounts.
They need a discount or free, like...
Stop.
And it's so crazy,
because you would be upset if I asked you for one. If you think the thing that you're doing deserves value.
I feel like that's sometimes where people get a little awkward. They're like, oh, I don't want to make someone pay for this or that.
Nope.
My sister is actually about to self-publish a children's book.
Oh my god!
Somebody was like, oh, you want me to, like, fund you? And she was like, what?
That's fire.
And so then they were like, do you have anything? Do you have any page or anything like that? And so she felt really awkward about, like, sort of asking people for money and stuff like that. Because also it's your craft. It's, you know, especially with writing, people are always ready to devalue it in particular. People are always ready to devalue the arts. And it's like, you'll pay thousands of dollars for, like, a Picasso or, like, a signed Shakespeare copy or something like that. But an up-and-coming artist, like, no one wants anything to do with them.
It's so interesting also, outside of paying thousands of dollars, you listen to music every day. You watch television every day. You're touched by these storylines,
yeah. Whether it's in a song or in a movie.
But you still devalue the arts.
Make it make sense.
Come on. You contradiction.
The next one I get, and I have heard, is can you make me a character? Or can you name a character after me? So sometimes, you know, the people around us find their way into the stories. Like, we'll take a personality trait from this person to that person. So you may already be in the story. You may not be the character that you would want to be. Or you might not like how I decide to depict you because you have one image or another.
Of yourself. Yeah.
Also, go write your own story.
If you want to be in it.
And on top of that, if I write your idea and all this stuff like that, then we're going to get into proceeds. If I, like, put a portrait of you in my story, you might try to sue me. That's my money, sir. Or ma'am. But a lot of family members, I feel like a lot in particular, have been like, oh, put this. I remember my uncle was like, oh, you should make, like, he was like, oh, you like fantasy? Make, like, a friendly vampire with, like, you know, named blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, that's your story. That's not mine.
A friendly vampire name. Well, I will say, right, did they read your stories or did they just be like, oh, so you write, here's an
That's
idea?
What it was.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's also different too. Like, potentially if someone did give me an idea like that, I don't know if I would take it or what. But all of these comments oftentimes come from like not only family, not only strangers rather, or even family, but most of the time it's just people who have not read our work, who haven't. It's just like, oh, that sounds cool. Let's do that.
Yeah. What's the next one? We have, can I give you the story idea and you write it for me? That was exactly what we just said, yeah.
All right, do I give you another one?
Do you have a backup plan?
You said you get that one. I have not gotten that one.
I've gotten that one. And I think it also goes back to how much we devalue the arts. Do I have a backup plan? What do you mean, do I have a backup plan? This is the plan. I shouldn't need a backup.
And, you know, should it not work out, then you kind of work it out from there, like with anyone in any career.
Exactly. You don't ask a person who's, like, going to law school if they have a backup plan.
And some people do, like, so if they're going directly to law school, like, if they know they're going, that's one thing. If they're taking, like, the LSAT or something, then they might have a backup plan. But I have a few friends taking the LSATs, that's why. That was a very personal one for me.
You were like, they have backup plans.
They do. One of them in particular has, like, 9 different backup plans. She's going to be a perpetual student. She's constantly getting degrees.
Okay.
The other one is like, listen, if I don't do well this first time, maybe I'll take it again. But look, I could be a teacher. I could do this or that. But no, I feel like, you know, most people, they have their backup plans. But I feel like a lot of people, unless they're in that field, have not been like, do you have a backup plan? Like, the general public are like, oh, that's great. Lawyer? Okay, that's cool.
Exactly.
Doctor?
You're going to be a doctor? Fantastic. You want to be an accountant? Do you have a backup plan? I've never heard that. Anyway.
Did I give you another one, or did I take the last one? Okay. No, I'm saying. So Lisa had given me this one earlier. Have you written anything that I've seen?
Yeah. no. Why? No.
And if I,
And if I did, why would I tell you? Because it's probably on some freaking fanfic site.
So I do tell people about my blog, but I'm also particular about it. Like, I don't tell, like, a lot of my family doesn't know about it because I don't want them, like, with my stories. I don't want them on my YouTube. I
feel that.
This is my,
oh my God,
personal space. So it depends on who the person is, whether or not I answer that. Or, I'll just, like, laugh it off and be like, not yet. Because the thing is, a lot of times they will ask that, but they also don't, like, they're not actually going to go read it.
Yeah.
They're just going to be like, oh, my daughter's friend's grandma, whomever, wrote this.
And they'll, like, lie to you.
Oh, this is getting into another one. A lot of people ask to read my manuscript, and I've become very wary unless I ask you to. And there have been people who have asked to read it and they have not read it, and that's also frustrating. But there are a lot of people who are like, oh, can I read it? And I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, feedback, okay, great. And then it's years later, and
I am gonna say I fall into that, and that's my fault. But I'll at least let you know that I haven't read it yet, or I've gotten this far in it, and sorry. Because, I got distracted.
So, I do get that, right? And I feel like, so for you and I, you, Matthew, and I, we have our writing group, and so we have this thing, and both of us can be, like, all three of us, rather, can be trash at, like, reading stuff and whatever, right?
Trash. Super trash.
But I think about just, like, a general, and not, like, a random on the street, but maybe, like, an acquaintance or something, they'd be like, oh my God, you're writing, like, that's great.
Someone who asks you.
Yes. And, then they end up not reading it, and so now I feel like they've ruined it for other people who have asked me, because I'm like, bro, okay, like, are you going to actually read it, though? Because I've had a lot of people. I have one friend who,
capital F friend or lowercase f friend?
Question mark friend, who has asked to read it, and I've still never shown them the manuscript, because I was just like, listen, like, I don't want to send it to another person that doesn't read it, just because it gets really annoying, like, just for me, because I'm like, did you not like the story? Are you ever gonna read it? Like, So it definitely gets frustrating for me.
I hear that. Oh, one that we didn't have on the list, but just came into mind is when they find out you're a writer and they want you to read something of theirs.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know you, fam. I'm good.
Something else I get. So if I'm, like, complaining about, like, writing an essay or something, people are like, oh, but you're a writer, you love writing, you're majoring in English. Bitch, I'm creative writing.
That doesn't mean this essay
is analytical writing, and I have to tell people that, like,
there's a difference. There's a very big difference.
And some people have been surprised, I guess, that I'm working on a novel. They're not like, why not, like, a short story? Why not? Like, people just let me write what I want to write. Because I'm writing a novel.
What do you mean, why not a short story?
I also say that I'm a novelist, not a short storyteller, like, at heart, because, like, I talk a lot. Like, I don't like it condensed,
I remember during my screenwriting class, and I took this as both an insult as a compliment, the professor told me that since we were doing short films is what we were writing for short films, she said, you write more like a novelist than a screenwriter. And I was like, cool, because I'm writing a novel.
So I know I'm in the right area.
Right? I took this class as experimentation. But then I knew she meant it in saying that my script was garbage.
So I was like, damn, it's like a double-edged sword. Like, geez.
Yeah. But she meant that in saying that I took a long route to get the story. Like, I was dropping hints towards the end, whereas in a short film, you kind of gotta
get it right up there.
Yeah. And I was like,
it's kind of also like a short story versus a novel, though,
Exactly. So I was like, I do write like a novelist. I'm not mad at that statement.
Now, how'd you do in the class?
I got either a B or a C.
Damn, bro.
Because I did shitty on the final.
Got it. That sucks.
The final caught me way off guard. She was like, rewrite the script that I give you and make it on the nose. And I was like, what the fuck do you mean, make it on the nose?
Oh, something else. I don't know why nose has reminded me.
Okay.
A lot of people, I feel awkward when I talk about my characters, and when someone is like, I don't know, does Katie like this? And I'm like, I think she ... And they're like, what do you mean you think? Like, it's your character.
Right.
And I'm like, but they also kind of take on a life of their own. If I tell someone that I like, some people talk to their characters, some people have really elaborate relationship with their characters.
Some frightening relationship.
Yeah, sometimes it does sound a little crazy, but I'm like, I can't judge.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, I'm still over here creating people out of my mind.
Like the characters
giving
in my
them
head.
lives.
I definitely, by myself, have like paced around and just like voiced scenes and recorded it to write out later because I couldn't write anything.
That's something that I need to start doing because
I haven't done that in a long time.
I'll think of these scenes and then I'll start writing and then I get blocked because of the writing part.
I think sometimes adding a little movement to it does help to also see if this is like a feasible thing. If you know like the movement that you're doing, if it makes sense, like to see if it's feasible. I was writing a kissing scene and I don't know. No, this is not going to be as weird as it sounds, I promise. But I just had to like kiss my hand a few times. I was just like, wait, hold on. Okay. What's the process? Like what,
Do I reach for my hair first? Or do I caress my chin?
Caress my chin.
Well, what did you do? Did you caress the chin?
I just meant in terms of just like the lip motion.
Listen, this happened during the thick of shutdowns. New York was particularly bad, and I had no one to do research with.
Anyway.
Were they damp? Were they dry? Gotta write these notes. I hear you, though. I hear you. Because there was a fighting scene that I literally acted out in my room.
Oh my gosh. I think that would have been great. That would have been great to be around.
That's my favorite action scene of my story so far.
Yeah? That's cool.
It's also, like, the only action scene.
I'm thinking about, like, because I'm going to have an action scene. And maybe, like, one or two. And I'm like, geez, what are the logistics of this? Like, I'm gonna have to like move to.
You gotta move. Yeah, I was like, how can a fight work?
Yeah, basically, that's the first question. How to fight?
How to fight? One. What is a fist?
Thumb in or thumb out?
Honestly, I had to do this research. I'm like, thumb out is broken thumb. Thumb in is broken knuckles. Which one is it?
I think the other thing too. People are always surprised at like the random knowledge that I accumulate. Now, I'm just a nerd anyway at heart, and I will look up random facts and stuff like that.
You gotta find random shit.
But I Google a lot of random things.
I know what you mean.
I think writers are like an expert on a little bit about a lot of things. A lot of things.
I know a surprising amount about dead bodies.
My friends just took a forensic class.
I took the forensic class so I can know about, and honestly, it was so interesting. I think you would enjoy forensics.
So, it depends on what mood I'm in, because I had a very big existential crisis this summer. Like, I was thinking about death and all that stuff like that, and then, Corona wasn't happening. Was happening. And then in my religion class, it was the Afro-Caribbean religions, and we were talking about the sacrifice in Santeria and voodoo, and it was like, giving life for like death making way for life. And I was just, I ended up having to walk away from class. Stuff. Yeah. And I usually just like stick it through a lot of things, but I ended up walking away from class. And I was just like,
you're like, this too dark today.
Yeah.
Gotta go out
and I think there's a lot of other things happening with that too. Like, I'm not even, like, I'm only 23. Like, I am not old in the slightest. But I think, thinking about it was a lot easier for me because, school's about to end and, like, all of these things, and I don't know what's going to happen after that.
You're confronted with life now.
Yeah.
I hear you.
So it actually does sound interesting. It might sound like, I don't know if I would actually want to take the class, but I feel like I would want to read what you learned. You know what I mean?
I will send you my notes if you want to.
Let me get back to you.
They're so interesting.
Let me get back to you.
It's nothing crazy.
Okay.
Honestly, I wrote it down in a way that's not, like, severely morbid.
Okay. You can send them. I get a lot of people assuming that I'm going to be a good writer. They're like, oh, you speak well, so you're going to be a good writer. They're like, if an essay is well written, but that doesn't necessarily mean, or not an essay, but like something nonfiction, but I'm like, that doesn't mean I'm a good storyteller.
Storytelling
and so
is
I appreciate the words of encouragement, but it's also kind of annoying because I'm like, you haven't read any of my work. You don't,
Like, have you heard of this so-and-so writer? And it's like another random-ass person like me.
Like, I don't know all of them.
Why would I... Like, how?
Or people also assume...
I didn't really make a clear thought here. I was saying people assume that you've read a certain book or certain authors.
Well, have you read this and that?
No.
Also,
or they think differently of you when you say that you haven't read.
Oh, no. Okay.
That doesn't mean that I'm any less of a writer just because I didn't read blank here. Suggest, don't condescend.
Yes, I concur. I feel like people are sometimes like surprised at me being a tea drinker because I have to drink coffee, but I feel like I've noticed like a large subculture of writers coming up who drink tea.
Yeah, I think the coffee thing is just a stereotype.
I think so. I think
tea
it comes,
has caffeine too.
It does. I think it comes from like Starbucks, but that's a stereotype that I cop to.
Stereotype of taking my laptop and getting my writing done. As I already said, I am not a big coffee drinker. Fun fact, coffee raises eye pressure. Also, fun fact, it is pumpkin spice season, and if you guys have not had the pumpkin spice chai, and I have not yet gotten one this season, you should definitely try it. Man, I wish I was sponsored by Starbucks. I mean, it was a little touch and go there for a little while with Black Lives, and it's like, how can I like a place who doesn't care about my life? But like, it's so good. Priorities. I know.
That's a stereotype. Well, yeah, I see what you mean, but I think it existed before, like
it did because writers in cafes, because of the writer cafes in like France and all that good stuff. But you know, Starbucks has like become the new.
It's not all that unique. It's not like
that hole in the wall cafe that knows your name because it's like right around the corner from your house or something.
They're like, oh, nice to see you again. Are you walking on the next chapter? That's something else I want to do.
Have you heard is this a stereotype that you've seen that writers wear sweaters a lot?
I wear sweaters.
I mean, I do too, but
oops.
I recently saw this in a video, and
oh my god,
I was like, okay, so I do, but is that just me?
I have a sweater tied around my waist.
That's
and it's
amazing.
80 degrees outside.
That is amazing. I get cold really fast, so I usually keep the sweater around.
You probably have the sweater because when you go to these cafes, they have
the
AC
cold,
blasting.
Yes.
Also, sweaters are just cozy, and if you're gonna be
writing
by yourself,
on your butt, like you want to be cozy,
you have to be comfortable. But you're gonna wear a tube top, to write? You gotta write naked. Bear it all. Be vulnerable.
Yeah, with yourself. To be vulnerable with the world, you must be vulnerable with yourself.
I do have to practice being vulnerable in my writing because I do think I get too caught up in saying the right things while I write instead of just saying the things I feel. Yeah, and saying the things. Period. I need to stop. Just create, sis. Just create. Have you heard anything else from people? I know this video has gone on a lot longer than originally intended, but I think we get some great stuff.
I do too. Yeah. Yes. Why are we like this?
I don't know.
I mean, because I'm also a musician, people are like, oh, you must write music. And I'm like, no, I don't do that. No.
I've never heard that one because I'm not a musician.
You're a musician
and I ain't mad at it. No, I'm not. I like music in my heart.
I also have a misconception for me personally. People think that I'm a poet, but I'm actually not. It's just faster to write, even if you're working with a poetic form, which so for my music school, I've written like poetry for their contests, and they know that I'm a writer, so it must go hand in hand. Or in my
not necessarily
high school's literary magazine, I generally wrote poetry, not short stories, and so people are like, oh, you're like such a good poet, and I'm like, thanks, but that's not even what I want to be known for. Like, that's not my main medium.
I mean, you can have two mediums, though.
I can. I'm actually not a huge fan. I wrote a lot more poetry in high school. I would have accepted the poet title in high school. Now I'm like, it's not really accurate.
I don't fall under that category anymore, guys.
I had a lot going on in high school. I really enjoyed being angsty.
Yeah.
In retrospect, I was definitely angsty. I thought I was too cool for that angst title, and I think in some ways, like, I wasn't.
You were a brooding.
I was, but
teenager.
I think I've always been like brooding, like as a kid. Like if someone upset me, I just go sit in the corner. Like I threw tantrums like when I was like little, but like once I got a little bit older,
after that, that's no
I was definitely a brooding child. I remember once my sister, her boyfriend was over, and we were all watching TV. But I don't know if I like wasn't getting enough attention. I don't know, because I'm the youngest sister. So I was like, you know what? I wonder if she's gonna notice if I lay completely still. And I lay. And so finally, it was like 20 minutes later, and she like poked me with her toe. She's like, "You good down there? Like, you fine?"
You took too long. What if I was dead?
So I was definitely more the angst-ridden type, just chilling in the corner.
You gotta remember, like, our formative years were around this emo shit.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It makes sense that we were all angsty teens.
I was trying to think of the lyrics to a song, but I lost it. Like, it was right at the tip of my tongue, but it's gone. Yeah, no, definitely. We were in that time. I also think, like, even as an adult, though, I'm more inclined towards sulking and, like, brooding. Or just, I'm not...
As opposed to what, though?
Like, throwing an adult tantrum?
Imagine an adult throwing a... Ooh.
But I think, I have friends who will curse somebody out, but that's not really my style.
Yeah, me either.
I enjoy to cut you with my words rather than to curse you out.
Not the same thing.
Or I'll just walk away. Well,
you want to insult somebody's intelligence.
Well, when I get really upset, I get more formal. When I'm uncomfortable or upset, I get more formal. And so then I feel like I usually I'm gonna be polite to you because that's what's ingrained in me. But I don't have to be nice about it, like per se. Like think about just like that Southern hospitality, like
oh honey, bless your heart.
Yeah, basically, I would be a bless your heart.
Bless your heart.
And I know that I am.
You'll just wear anything.
Oh, aren't you a little cold in there? I feel like...
Are you sure you want another piece of cornbread? You don't need it.
See, that's getting into just like passive aggressive, and I feel like I'm a little bit beyond that, because I will tell you how I feel, but I feel like I'm generally like calm about it, and I feel like that's often what throws people off, because I'm just not necessarily an outwardly angry person. I definitely am an internalizer.
Okay, I hear that. What was this about again?
I don't know.
Either.
Poetry. And my angsty. One of my first ever Tumblr posts was me wondering if you could be a closet emo.
Oh, that's so funny. Now I have to find it.
It was so bad. Yeah. Okay. I think we covered a lot.
How are we gonna wrap this up?
Yes, that sounds good.
We gotta how though? How are we gonna do it?
For the Vine?
Do it for the Vine.
I ain't gonna do it. Anyway, YouTube, I hope you enjoyed this nice ramble. We stayed on track in the beginning.
Yeah, we tried this time.
We did.
We did still manage to keep both videos under 30 minutes.
Yes, that's important.
Just keep that in mind.
Check out my other videos. Do you have anything that you'd want me to promote, or do you want me to toss your Instagram in there or something? Because I'll just put it in the description anyway.
You can toss my Instagram. I go live sometimes, but very rarely, and I'm barely on Instagram, so I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Okay. So I'll tell you where to find Elisa occasionally in the description.
Maybe I'll be there. Maybe.
See you next time. Bye.
So, wait a second. Don't you need to plug in the mic?
Oh, yeah, I guess so, huh?
Cut!